everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you're new here. For those of you who don't know, my name is Hiba, and here on my channel I like to discuss recent missing person cases. Today I want to revisit the Cassie Sheetz case, and this case is very close to me. Of course, all the cases I talk about are important to me, but I've talked to a lot of people who know Cassie and others potentially involved in the case, so I feel especially close to Cassie and her case. And if you don't know who Cassie is or her story, I recommend you go ahead and watch my other two videos where we delve into what happened and potential theories. But I'll provide a quick overview of the case here. Cassie Sheetz, a 24-year-old woman, disappeared on Thursday, March 11, 2021, near Spruce Knob in Pendleton County, West Virginia. Cassie supposedly disappeared after she went hiking with two male friends, Grant Sager, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and James Brill. So I actually have pictures that are believed to be of the trio that day, and I'll include them here. In these pictures, Cassie is wearing a black tank top and camo pants, and she was also reportedly wearing a black hoodie that day, but that's not pictured. Apparently these pictures were captured by putting the phone into the tree. However, personally, I question if somebody else was potentially there, but we'll delve into that later. According to Grant and James, the group of hikers became separated from each other at some point during the night, and while the two men were able to get out of the trail and find each other at the car, Cassie was not. Now, over a month and a half later, Cassie is still missing and we still have no answers. While I don't have any specific updates when it comes to Cassie, I've gotten some requests to look more into Grant and James. I believe that the information might be irrelevant to Cassie's case. So as always, any theories that I present or any information that I put forth is based on my own opinions or information that I've gathered, and it's just my own speculation. So like I mentioned, James and Grant were the last two with Cassie that night, and that's alarming on its own. We were also the last two with another woman, Sierra Sager. Sierra was actually James's fiance, and the two have a baby together. You may have noticed that Sierra and Grant share a last name. I've heard that they were cousins, but I'm not 100% certain about this. From what I can tell, James and Sierra had a loving relationship. Like any couple, the two had their ups and downs, but it seems like they were stable for the most part and that they were enjoying parenthood. Sierra, again, she might have had her ups and downs, but she seemed to love being a mom. She posted so many pictures of her baby boy, and she seemed to be so proud of her family and of her baby. So it just seemed like she was loving being a mom. On February 28, 2020, Sierra was with Grant and James before she allegedly took her own life. She supposedly drove out to the middle of nowhere late at night and took her life in the front seat of her car. Unfortunately, I don't have many details about what happened in Sierra's case. All I know for sure is that Grant and James were the last people with Sierra that night prior to her death. More specifically, I've heard that Grant was the last person she spoke to, and I've also heard that Grant was actually the person to find her, and I'm not sure how exactly this happened because I've heard that she did drive out to the middle of nowhere or potentially the middle of a highway and her car was there, so I'm not sure how he did find her, but it would be more suspicious if he was the one to find her, and this is what I've heard. And I'm pretty sure the manner of death was ruled a suicide. So following her death, I believe the car was impounded and ultimately released back to the family. Due to the circumstances surrounding her death, I don't believe that investigators would have held on to the car for long, and I believe that it was sent to an impound not long after her death. However, after it was released, James drove the car around for months until it was ultimately repossessed. So many people don't understand how James could do this, seeing, like I said, Sierra took her life in the front seat. If you recall in my update video about Cassie, I also mentioned that Grant was seen driving the car involved in Cassie's disappearance. He somehow managed to get it out of the impound. We're not sure exactly how, whether if it's because he knew someone or paid someone off, or whether it was in one of his family members' names. We're not exactly sure. It's not exactly the same situation, but I don't understand how either Grant or James were thoughtless or could be selfish enough to just drive around these vehicles, considering the nature of the cases. I'd like to point out a recent post made by James on Sierra's Facebook account. So from what I understand, there's currently an ongoing custody battle between James and Jamie, which is Sierra's mother. So James accuses Jamie of essentially traumatizing Sierra in her childhood and claims that she wasn't there for her and the baby while Sierra was alive. But the point of bringing this up isn't to highlight James's accusations. Like I said, James recently made a post to Sierra's Facebook. In his post, he posted some of Sierra's notes and messages. Included in his post was one of the last notes that she wrote. It looks like an apparent suicide note. However, many have pointed out that this note doesn't sound like Sierra at all. Her friends and family don't believe that she even wrote it, including her sister, Olivia, and she brought up the fact that police had Sierra's phone and searched it and had it for weeks and they never found such a note, though it's odd that James is posting a note on her Facebook now and saying that it exists. If it's true that James wrote this note, why would he lie and say that it was written by her? So the note does go into detail and blames Jamie, Sierra's mother, for a lot of wrongdoing, just as James does. So it is possible that he wrote it to seem like Sierra did blame her mother, like he alleges. However, if he's willing to write a note pretending to be Sierra after her death, I wonder what else he's willing to do. It just makes the situation seem really suspicious. I don't know why he would write this note and claim that it was her writing it before she died. So many of Sierra's friends and family question what happened that night and always have, but especially now. After learning about Cassie's disappearance and learning about Grant and James's potential involvement, many of Sierra's family and friends have come forward and voiced their concern that the two may have been more involved in Sierra's death than they admit to. Numerous relatives have even reached out to me personally. It initially caught me off guard when I looked into this and when I learned that Grant and James were the last two with Sierra prior to her death. And it seems like too much of a coincidence that both Cassie and Sierra both disappeared in some way after being around them last. But that's not to say that it's not impossible that it's a coincidence, but it is striking and it's definitely relevant and I think it should be highlighted. I hope that police are looking at this and are reading into this and not just letting it slide. But I wanted to ultimately provide this information about what happened to Sierra because I think it could be relevant, and I think that Grant and James may know more about what happened to Sierra than they're letting on. And if that's the case, Cassie wouldn't be the first person to suspiciously disappear after last being with them, and it seems like they might have a history. Unfortunately, there aren't many developments in Cassie's case. The family hasn't heard any updates from law enforcement despite reaching out and asking for updates. It's always, we'll let you know when we find anything out. I'm surprised at how little we've heard about this case and how little information we've received. We have yet to find out any information about where Cassie's cell phone last pinged or where the boys were that night based on their cell phone records, or details about the car window or any other details about the case. And I just hope that this is because police are keeping it close to the case to eventually make an arrest. I'm glad we do have pictures of that day because at least we can verify that the trio were together at some point and in some wooded area. We also have a clear visual of Cassie and what she was seen wearing. However, I do find it kind of odd that she was only wearing a tank top in the pictures. It was cold that day. It appears that there's snow in the background of the pictures. I know that they reported that she was wearing a black sweatshirt or a hoodie, so I'm not sure why it's not shown in the pictures. I wonder if she was hot for some reason, or maybe she did take it off for those pictures. I'm not really sure, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. I also question their story about how the phone was put into a tree to capture this photo. I assume there would have been numerous takes at this in order to make sure they were standing in the right spot, that the camera was capturing them where they wanted it to. So I feel like there would have been more than just one photo unless they got it perfectly right the first time, which again, I doubt. If not, I wonder if someone else was there and they were the ones who took this photo. Again, you'll have to let me know what your thoughts are on whether it's weird that Cassie was wearing a tank top and whether it's odd to you that this photo was taken so perfectly, or whether you think somebody else took it. Like I mentioned in my previous video, Grant has refused to take a polygraph, but he was arrested for drug possession in Virginia on March 20th. I believe he's currently in the West Virginia Division of Corrections. James, on the other hand, did take a polygraph and passed, and he is currently in Wardensville, West Virginia. I'm constantly checking for updates on Cassie, and I want to thank all of you for leaving me your comments with your theories and updates. It means so much to me and to her family, I'm sure. Cassie is 5'3" and weighs approximately 120 pounds. She has blonde hair and blue eyes. At the time of her disappearance, Cassie was believed to be wearing a hoodie and camouflage pants. She has several facial piercings, including her eyebrows, ears, and lips. She also has a belly button piercing. Cassie has several tattoos, including 2 on her upper chest that say Ruby and Bella. If you have any information about Cassie's whereabouts, please call the number down in the description below. I'll also have all my sources down in the description below as always, but please keep in mind that for this video especially, a lot of my sources were family members or friends. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one.